On this Super Tuesday, John Kerry wins big.
Thank you all. Thank you to voters from coast to coast who have truly made this a Super Tuesday.
John Edwards plans to throw in the towel.
I also want to take a moment and congratulate my friend, Senator John Kerry.
And the two-man race has already begun.
They're for tax cuts and against them. In favor of liberating Iraq and opposed to it. And that's just one senator from Massachusetts.
I have 3 words for him that I know he understands. Bring it on!
Tonight, vote 2004. Now, it's Kerry versus Bush.
From ABC News. This is Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
John Kerry and John Edwards have talked tonight. More significantly, perhaps, John Kerry and George W. Bush have talked tonight. And even though no one is reporting what precisely the parties said to one another, the only real remaining mystery is whether Kerry will offer Edwards a place on the ticket. The exchange between the president and Senator Kerry was characterized by the senator as a very nice conversation. It will probably be the last such until November. Years ago, one wit described the formation for a Democratic Party firing squad as a circle. Not this year. Messrs. Kucinich and Sharpton notwithstanding, the race for the Democratic Party's presidential nominee is over. Senator Kerry wrapped it up tonight, and while different segments of the party might have wished it otherwise, they are motivated, energized, salivating at the prospect of defeating George Bush. And that prospect has united them as rarely before. The president, meanwhile, has been shoring up his Republican base while amassing a war chest of well over $100 million. Nice conversations between Democrats and Republicans are likely to be in short supply for the next 8 months. So treasure the president's gentlemanly call this evening and the senator's gracious response. With that out of the way, they can begin kicking the stuffing out of one another. Super Tuesday, which is what this day was, of course, turned out to be something of an anticlimax. 10 states voting, and except for a sentimental salute in Vermont to the gallant Howard Dean, it looks like a Kerry sweep. Which brings me to my colleague, Peter Jennings, who is at ABC's election headquarters up in New York. It's been such an intense primary season, Peter, that it's a little difficult to believe that to all intents and purposes, it's over.
It is over, Ted, I think. And there may be a little bit more mystery about John Kerry's running mate than we might presuppose. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, to what you quite legitimately call something of an anticlimax. The polls had it pretty right all the way through, with the exception of Vermont, as you say, which do love its former governor. John Kerry won 9 out of the 10 states that were being contested today. Now, there were strengths to be seen in his campaign tonight. Democratic cohesion, for one thing, and a few potential weaknesses, which we'll also get to. But here, at least, is what it looks like tonight on the national map. At stake tonight, 10 states. In all parts of the country: California, New York, Ohio, Georgia, Maryland, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Vermont, Minnesota. And Kerry won tonight, as we've already said, everything but Vermont. California, New York, Ohio, Georgia, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. And before tonight, let's get to the bigger score for Kerry. Before tonight, he had won 17 states as well as the District of Columbia. So Kerry wins a total of 27 out of 30 contests. As he said, today was a Super Tuesday, but in all, that is powerful stuff for the senator from Massachusetts by anyone's definition. Before we go on with the remainder of Nightline, let's talk to our correspondents who have been out on the road, and start with Kate Snow, who covers the Kerry campaign. Kate, as Ted said, as we all heard earlier on, there was a call from the president to John Kerry tonight. Do you know any more details of their conversation?
We know it was fairly short. Both men described it as a very polite, a very nice conversation. We know that the president said that he looks forward to a spirited debate, a spirited race. Kerry countered by saying he looks forward to sticking to the issues. So a bit of a hint of some tension there. But certainly starting things off on a polite note, as Ted said. Kerry also tonight, though, talked about the months to come and said he's under no illusions. He said, I'm ready for the Republican attack machine, as he called it. Kerry will continue to campaign, we're told, on the same kind of themes that he has been hitting. He will continue to hit President Bush on education, on the economy, on Iraq and the war there. Not a lot of change there, but one big change, Peter, is that he'll have to attend a lot more fundraisers now. He's really running low on cash compared to Bush.
Let me ask you about fundraising in just a moment. But first of all, he went out of his way to be very inclusive. He was very kind to Howard Dean, and he was very kind to John Kerry.
Yeah.
Is there talk in that campaign about, as we've all mused today, John Edwards as a running mate?
Very kind to John Edwards. I can't remember how many times he said nice things tonight about John Edwards. There is certainly talk internally, Peter, but they also, every advisor and aide that I talk to says, look, this is really up to Senator Kerry ultimately. And Kerry publicly has said again and again, he's not thinking about it yet. He has no short list. You can choose to believe that or not. Certainly the attention focuses on that now, and I'm told by one source close to Kerry that they may try to name a nominee, a vice presidential nominee, sooner rather than later, sooner than usual, before the summer, in order to get that person out on the road campaigning as well.
Let me ask you about the money. He has the facility, he has the freedom to raise it. Do they have the facility to raise as much as they think they'll need?
Well, yes, they say they'll get enough, as much as they need. That is not to say that they will have as much as George W. Bush. I mean, President Bush's campaign right now has something like $100 million on hand. Senator Kerry has something like $3 million on hand. So the disparity is huge. All along, the Kerry campaign has said they will never hope to raise that much money, but they think with the machinery of the party, and as Ted said, the party is so united now, they think the Democratic National Committee and other outside groups will be able to raise significant amounts and spend that money on ads and other things.
Good. Many thanks, Kate. Kate Snow with the Kerry campaign. Now let's go to Atlanta and talk to Dan Harris. Dan Harris started off his year with the campaign of the former governor of Vermont and has ended up with the Edwards campaign. I'm not sure what that says about your future or any candidate who wants you around. But does the Edwards campaign... Sorry, go ahead.
It says, don't invite me to dinner, Peter, is what one of our colleagues said.
Do the members of the Edward campaign, most notably Senator Edwards, want to be Senator Kerry's running mate?
Well, he has spent the last couple of weeks saying, I'm running for president only. He said, I am not thinking about being vice president. You can read into that whatever you want, especially now that he is essentially out of a job. He's going to spend the next year serving out his Senate term, but he's not running for another term. So one can reasonably surmise that he's looking for another role in public life. Vice president probably wouldn't be too bad right about now.
Dan, second guessing is part of losing, as we all know. How is it in that campaign? Was Edwards not aggressive, or as aggressive as he might have been with Kerry? He was certainly more likable on every score by most people's account.
Well, two things to say about that. I spoke to a senior staffer to do a little bit of a post-mortem tonight, somewhat reluctantly, I might say. And this senior staffer told me that his sense was that the problem Edwards ran into was the clock. As you know, there was a really condensed calendar this year designed by party poobahs to produce a nominee early. Edwards feels like he didn't have enough time to connect. When he had time, he said, in places like Wisconsin, South Carolina, Iowa, he was able to do surprisingly well. He feels he didn't have time because of the calendar this year. Now, outside political observers will tell you that Edwards, in fact, put himself in a bit of a box. He was positive. He pledged to stay positive. A lot of people like that. But when it came down to a mano-a-mano race with Kerry, he couldn't do anything or wouldn't do anything to shake it up and change the dynamic.
Many thanks, Dan. Dan Harris, who has been, as I said, with the Dean campaign and now with the Edwards campaign. Let's turn briefly to ABC's George Stephanopoulos. This Democratic race looked at one point as if it might be longer and maybe bloodier than party officials had hoped for. It's been shorter. Good for the party, bad for the party, good for Kerry, bad for party, good for the voter.
Exactly how the party planned it. This is what they wanted all along, a short nomination fight that would give a strong nominee early in the process. It clearly worked for the party, and it worked for Senator Kerry. But now he faces this 5-month period where, as Kate Snow said, he doesn't have a lot of money. He doesn't have these primaries every week where he's guaranteed a good story coming out, he builds up the wind. He's got to figure out a way to stay on the stage without having these contests every week.
He showed himself to be vulnerable, at least in Georgia tonight. He won in Georgia, but not by very much.
Not by very much, and he also lost in South Carolina, lost in Oklahoma. Those were two of only 3 states that he lost.
Does any Democrat think they can win in the South this year?
The question is, can they be competitive? That's one of George Bush's big advantages. In the states where he is strong, he is very, very strong. He doesn't have to do much to defend them. But where Kerry showed some strength are in these battleground states that are going to be all important in the fall. Places like Missouri, Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, all the states clustered around the Great Lakes and the Mississippi River.
I know it's early, but let's take it a step farther than Ted did and throw some other potential running mates as vice president on the table. Bob Graham of Florida.
Big advantage there is, can he bring the state of Florida? If he can, and the polling will show this one way or the other, John Kerry has big advantages in New York, Illinois, California, Florida, 4 of the 5 biggest states in the country.
Richard Gephardt, Midwest, Ohio.
That's it. Great Lakes, Mississippi River. What you would do with Richard Gephardt is plant him in Missouri, Ohio, Michigan, and just say, get me those states.
John Edwards.
John Edwards, energy, likability, enthusiasm. He's well known. He helped himself in this nomination process.
And other names yet to come. Give us 15 seconds on the Bush strategy as it begins to emerge now.
The Bush strategy, first of all, is to fix the problems from the primary fight, build up his positives, and then start to point out that John Kerry is 2 things. One is that he's a hypocrite, and then they're going to move to their old favorite, liberal.
Many thanks, George Stephanopoulos and Dan Harris and Kate Snow as well. But there you have it, Ted. And as George pointed out, and as we all know, John Kerry does not get to have the good headlines every week now in this very strong Democratic showing across the country. He has to share them with the president.
Peter, thanks very much. When we come back, the Democratic primaries aren't over until June, but the real contest has already begun.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by IBM.
You're late. Big line at the toll booth. You know those electronic passes? Yeah. Used to be 1 lane, then 2, now 3. And you don't have one? No.
It's the on-demand world.
Huh?
Electronic pass connects to toll booth. Toll booth connects to bank. Bank to your credit card. You come in here with your laptop, click, click, pay your bill through the air. But you don't get it, so you wait in line.
That means something.
It's a beautiful morning.
I don't want to go surfing. And I'm not looking to sail around the world. All I want is to get out here early and surprise a few clams.
Ask your doctor today about Vioxx, a prescription medicine from Merck, and find out what Vioxx can do for you.
My doctor prescribed Vioxx, and I stayed with it.
Vioxx.
Only one more day until Kingdom comes.
Something has awakened. Something evil.
Stephen King's Kingdom Hospital premieres ABC tomorrow, 9/8 Central.
Moms have changed. Shouldn't the minivan? Introducing the Nissan Quest.
Try Subway's Chop House Barbecue Sandwich, a tasty mix of rich, tangy barbecue and fresh-baked bread. Who better than Subway to create such a heavenly dream? Only it's not a dream, it's a sub. A really tasty sub. Subway. Eat fresh.
Now, for a limited time, you can choose any 6-inch sub for just $2.79. Subway subs are made fresh your way every day. Why would you choose something that's not?
Subway. Eat fresh.
There was a time when Labor Day signaled the beginning of a general election campaign, but as ABC News senior correspondent Jim Wooten reports, not anymore.
It's probably unfair, yeah, that's right, unfair, to dispense with Senator Edwards before he dispenses with himself.
Our campaign has never been about the politics of cynicism. It's about the politics of hope.
But it's unrealistic not to recognize that the Democrats have settled on their candidate this year.
Change is coming to America.
And the November campaign, Ready or Not America, the November campaign is now well underway, 8 months before the election. Might as well get used to this sort of one-liner.
That the one person in the United States of America who deserves to be laid off is George W. Bush.
That probably means Senator Kerry sees Mr. Bush as the Republican nominee. And last week, the president more or less accepted and leaped to his own conclusion about his opponent, but with tongue-in-cheek pretended the Democrats were still deciding.
For NAFTA and against NAFTA. For the Patriot Act and against the Patriot Act. In favor of liberating Iraq and opposed to it. And that's just one senator from Massachusetts.
Is this going to be fun or what?
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
We're going to feel like it's a very long campaign.
ABC News' Cokie Roberts has watched a few of them, long and short.
The polls are showing how tough this race is going to be.
And Republican Scott Reed ran Bob Dole's campaign 8 years ago.
People have long underestimated George Bush.
Reporter Ron Suskind has written about the mix of White House policy with White House politics in his book about former Treasury Secretary Paul O'Neill. Roberts, Reed, and Suskind, an informal consulting firm tonight on the shape and form of the tone of the 2004 campaign.
John Kerry's greatest strength is that he's a Democrat, and the Democratic Party is very head up going into this election.
But without any primary opposition, the president is also sitting pretty with his party faithful.
Bush goes into this in a very strong position. He's getting over 91% of the Republican vote, which means he's consolidated his base, and he can look to those swing voters, those independent, those soccer moms that are going to really decide this vote.
He forgot NASCAR dads. The president didn't.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
On the other hand,
talk about energizing the Republican base, which has been the central discussion for 3 years in this White House, I think missed the equal and opposing reaction of what an energized Democratic base would look like.
They're still angry from the 2000 election. Some of them are angry about the last 4 years. They're determined to win.
But win? Win with a United States senator and, according to the National Journal's recent measurement, the most liberal member of the Senate? Moreover, no sitting senator has won the White House since John Kennedy more than 40 years ago.
We don't elect senators directly to the presidency, and there's a reason for it. It's called a voting record.
I think Senator Kerry's record is an important topic.
Specifically, as the Republican chairman Ed Gillespie was kind enough to point out, Kerry has a long and voluminous voting record. He voted to cut $1.5 billion from the intelligence budget. He voted to reduce funding for several weapons systems.
The ayes are 77.
He voted to give Mr. Bush the authority to wage war in Iraq.
Mr. Kerry.
And he voted against funding the U.S. occupation there.
John Kerry has got to figure a way to convince Americans that the Democrats can be trusted on national security.
American people really don't know who John Kerry is. This is the important thing for Kerry now. He has to pivot and try to set this general election up on his terms. I can give you 100 million reasons why that's going to be tough for him to do.
That's the Bush campaign bank balance for January, $104 million.
I think it's an extraordinary sum of money by anyone's reckoning.
Still, Senator Kerry, practically penniless after his primary campaign, is not without hope. The president does have liabilities.
The jobs issue is one that will certainly not go away. In the same way that it's not good to be liberal, it's not good to be Herbert Hoover. And to be able to say, as the Democrats can, that more jobs were lost under his presidency since Herbert Hoover is a tough one. With this kiss, I do wed.
Even with the gay marriage constitutional amendment on recent front pages, not to mention questions about the president's National Guard service, everybody seems to agree the economy and national security are the principal issues this year.
Their enemies are wounded, but they're not broken.
And the twin pillars of the president's campaign, which means the unexpected, the unpredictable, the unforeseeable is in play.
Things that may or may not be controllable at a time of enormous change and in some cases great peril for the country, both nationally and abroad.
We can pretty well stipulate that if the economy really goes in the tank, that's a bad thing for the president.
And what sort of campaign is stacking up for the country? Its tone, its tenor.
My counterpart continues to say the President of the United States is a felon.
You attack us, we are going to fight back, we will punch you back harder.
The stakes are so high in this campaign, and the country is so evenly divided that I think you're going to see a very vicious campaign.
It is my prediction, and it's only a prediction, that this will be the fiercest presidential election since 1968.
Bring it on!
Nasty, vicious, fierce? What if they're right? 8 solid months of nasty, vicious, and fierce? Is that any way to choose a president? Apparently so, since that's usually how it's done. I'm Jim Wooten for Nightline in Washington.
Sizing up the campaign ahead when we come back.
I am not a plumber.
I am not a carpenter.
I am not an electrician.
We know you're not. Next time, come see us first. Ace, the helpful place.
Come on.
Film and dog food for Badger in the Redwoods, $10. Bandana for Lost Dog in Napa Valley, $3.
Where's your family, huh?
Dog bone in Fresno, $7.
How'd you get so lost?
Forgetting you're far from home, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For your journey, there's MasterCard.
Of the Christ. Rated R. Now playing.
I am not a plumber.
I am not a carpenter.
I am not an electrician.
We know you're not. Next time, come see us first. Ace, the helpful place.
Meanwhile, on the 4th floor.
When?
20 minutes ago.
An internet worm.
And a sneaky one, too. Came from the inside.
But the guys from IT said we're safe.
It was caught by the network, automatically. They say we're fine.
How does something like that get in here?
Hey, Daddy, I downloaded a new game on your computer. It's really cool.
Protecting networks and everyone around them. This is the power of the network. Now.
Jimmy Kimmel tackles the tough issues.
Rosie O'Donnell got married. President Bush said a marriage should only be between a man and a woman, but in this case, close enough.
Jimmy Kimmel Live coming up.
Hi, I'm Howard Oles, and this is Faith Break. As I open one more advertisement offering a no-risk guarantee on a product I didn't need, I thought how freely people have become with promises. I've become weary with solutions that never solve, diets that do no good, and products that do not produce. Then I began evaluating some of my own promises. I'll call you. We'll get together sometime. Come to see me. In our private lives as well as public arenas, do we dare become trustworthy?
Joining me tonight, Mike Murphy, a Republican political strategist whose clients have included Arnold Schwarzenegger and Senator John McCain, and Stan Greenberg, a Democratic political consultant. He was a pollster and senior advisor to President Clinton. Nasty, vicious, fierce. Stanley, that's a description of Greenberg if we don't let him plug his new book, right? Which is?
The Two Americas, Our Current Political Deadlock and How to Break It.
There you go. Now, Americans don't like nasty, vicious, fierce, though. So What makes us think that this campaign is going to fall into that trap?
Well, I mean, sometimes that negativity drives voters out, but it's actually I'm in awe of what's happened in the Democratic primaries, both its turnout, but great intensity, passion, determination to defeat George Bush. But the image of the Democratic Party of John Kerry has improved. Independent voters have moved toward the Democrats, and that kind of intensity is actually driving the electorate, which is why I think George Bush is beginning his general election campaign immediately, and also beginning with trying to build up support in his base to get, I think, the same kind of intensity.
All right, Mike Murphy, if you want to get nasty about John Kerry, where do you begin?
Oh, boy. Well, where do you start? I need an hour-long show here, Ted. The fact is, he is about the most liberal member of the Senate, and the liberal campaign works when the guy you're talking about is a liberal. But I think the president's gotten a bad shake here on the process argument of negative versus positive. The fact is the challenger, Kerry, by definition, has to run a negative campaign about firing the incumbent. And that's exactly what he's done again and again and again. And now I think it's going to be time for the president to get his licks in, although I think it's ultimately a strategic mistake to do the easy thing, which is only tear down Kerry and let people know his real liberal voting record. The key thing they have to do is repair the president's image, and I think they have the time to do that. But the campaign, if an incumbent runs a one-shot campaign just attacking, it's trouble because the race is ultimately a referendum on the incumbent.
Mm-hmm. Where are they going to use all that money, Stanley? $104 million, and we're not even into the general election.
Right, it's money. It's money they will have to spend before the convention, and they will. I am sure they're going to begin to try to make the case that the president failed to make in the State of the Union, that where the country's making progress both in the war on terrorism and on the economy. And we're going to hear that, I'm sure, at the outset. But then, Mike and the people who work in his shop and parallel shops are going to be going after Kerry on consistency, liberalism, whatever. The question is, will that work in this period? I think people feel pretty seriously about the foreign policy and security issues, pretty seriously about what's happening on the economy, and I'm not sure they're going to allow themselves to be diverted. The voters were very focused on how they made the choice in the primaries. I think they're focused on making a serious choice in the general as well.
Let me just ask you, Mike, about the polls, because my reading of the polls over these last few months is that we, the public, are a fickle lot, and whatever happens to be the last thing, banging around in our empty skulls as we walk into the voting booth is what we're going to vote for or against. So with that in mind, what's the point of the $104 million being spent on advertising campaigns over the next few months?
Well, I think your premise is essentially right. We tend to overreact to these polls, especially this early. Polls are meant to move, and a lot of the trick to a good campaign is to ride the rhythm right and make sure you dominate the last 30 days when it really counts. That said, you take the whole country, you boil down to about 7 or 8 states, which is what this is really all about. Utah's going to do its thing. Democrat states are going to do their thing. You go to a couple places, a lot of them around the Great Lakes, and you pour the advertising in. Ground zero will be like Kansas City, Missouri. And it is useful early on to use some of this money to give people new information, both about the things the president wants to do, which he needs to do, and who John Kerry really is. Because the only John Kerry they've seen is the guy who kind of got instantly beamed up when Howard Dean imploded. So it isn't the whole campaign, but that kind of money poured into a couple of key states early, you can essentially go on the air now and maintain a presence in those 20 media markets all the way through up to the convention. And that can be pretty effective. Advertising works.
That would seem, Stanley, to speak in favor of a Dick Gephardt or someone like Dick Gephardt as vice presidential material. Right?
Well, I think both Edwards. Just as the primaries have been so good for Kerry and the Democrats, I actually think they're in a pretty strong position on potential vice presidential candidates. Edwards ran thematically a very strong campaign, represents mainstream America, a very powerful critique of the excesses and corporate excesses are centered around the Bush administration, and he's a quite powerful voice. But Dick Gephardt, also represents the kind of can speak about the unevenness of the economy. That's the issue in Missouri and Ohio, Michigan, West Virginia, Western Pennsylvania, and that's right. We agree on where the battlegrounds are and those poor people that are going to have to face all that media over these next months.
Listen, we'll take agreement between a Democrat and a Republican any place we can find it. Mike, Stanley, thank you both very much.
Thanks for having us.
The John Kerry you might not have heard about when we come back.
Don't tuck in your shirt. Don't polish your shoes. Your hair is fine as it is. Or isn't. Those lines, just evidence of how fully you've lived. Even if you're thinking about refinancing, relax. There's a company that sees you as more than a credit score. To homeowners everywhere, come as you are. AmeriQuest, the company that knows you are more.
All cars have headlights to illuminate the road ahead. But Lexus has developed a headlight that actually rotates up to 15 degrees to reveal what's around the bend before you get to the bend. What kind of a difference can 15 degrees make? A very noticeable one.
Wednesday, ABC invites you on an extraordinary journey.
Something has awakened.
You can't know that.
But I do.
Where a mystery comes to life.
Speak to us.
Welcome to Kingdom Hospital.
What happened here?
Medical terms? Miracle.
Where the past.
Where am I?
The world in between.
And the present.
These ridiculous rumors about Kingdom Hospital being haunted
are about to collide.
Did you see them?
Stephen King's Kingdom Hospital premieres ABC Wednesday, 9/8 Central.
Getting hungry, honey?
Yeah. What do you feel like?
Comfort food. Something warm and filling. Can you see what we have in the kitchen?
Sure. Hi, Tracy. What do you recommend?
For warm and filling, I'd go for the new Chicken Cordon Bleu sandwich. A juicy grilled chicken breast topped with authentic Black Forest ham and natural Swiss cheese.
Give me the remote.
You never watch what I want.
For Kit Yoon, the only way out of the Hong Kong underworld is to go back in. Jet Li in Rise to Honor, rated T for teen.
Joining me now, Andrew Maiga. He's the Washington bureau chief of the Boston Herald. He's covered Senator John Kerry for the last 14 years. And what can you tell about a man as president when you've played ice hockey with him?
Well, I can tell you that contrary to my expectations, he does pass the puck. You wouldn't expect a senator to give up the puck as frequently as he does.
I mean, seriously, what can we learn about John Kerry that we haven't already seen watching him as a senator here I mean, as a senator, he seems pretty senatorial. That's not necessarily a good thing for a presidential candidate.
Well, I think you're right, Ted. I mean, John Kerry looks like a senator, talks like a senator, certainly acts like a senator, and really, most Americans, I think, maybe look at John Kerry and say, that's really not the kind of guy I would be eager to go out and share a beer with. But the campaign has done a fairly good job of warming up his image. They've surrounded him with people on the campaign trail. They've put him with family members. They've put him with folks like former Georgia Senator Max Cleland. And I think what the campaign has tried to do is to get Kerry to kind of shed his senatorial side. I mean, John Kerry has always sort of been a little bit long-winded, a little bit aloof, a little bit too much of a Boston Brahmin for a lot of people. And a lot of the campaign has been about trying to get Kerry to overcome that.
We're a little short on time, Andrew, so one thing we know is going to happen. He's going to come under fairly rough assault between now and next November. Does he fold? Does he respond well?
No, I think John Kerry has shown in past races, particularly his re-election back in 1996 against Bill Weld, the popular Republican governor. That was just a brutal knockdown fight, and John Kerry showed that he had the ability to come back and to prevail.
What is it that brings out the best in him?
Well, I think to be an underdog, John Kerry is not a guy who's very comfortable with a lead. He tends to go soft. He tends to become a senator. But when John Kerry's behind, he tends to throw some of his reserve aside, and you see him fight.
Andrew Moiga, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Remember those hanging chads of the year 2000? They're being replaced. That story when we come back.
Meanwhile, in Dad's office.
I'll be right back, honey.
Defending the network from human nature. This is the power of the network, now.
Who would have thought that a 4-inch tube could emit 7,000 watts of light? Or that you could get the data of 7 billion stars onto a 4-inch disk? Who would have thought that you could get the power of a V6 with the fuel efficiency of a 4? We did. Introducing the GMC Canyon, the only mid-size pickup to offer the Vortec i5 engine. Who would have thought? Professional-grade engineering. It's not more than you need, just more than you're used to.
The Christopher Lowell collection has arrived. Finally, home office furniture as sophisticated and stylish as you. As you. The Christopher Lowell collection, exclusively at Office Depot. 4 brand new, very affordable styles, perfect for any look, any lifestyle, at any budget.
Reports are done. I could do dinner at 6. Does that work for you?
Tomorrow, Carrie, Edwards, once a race, could it now be a ticket? Tomorrow, it's Super Tuesday's Big Morning After, and only Good Morning America does politics uncensored.
Come to Lowe's, where you'll find the tools you'll need to get things done fast. Like this Hitachi 14-volt cordless power drill and driver. Only from Lowe's.
The Hitachi cordless has the power to tackle the toughest jobs. Its keyless chuck lets you switch from drill to driver in seconds to power in the longest wood screws or handle fasteners of all types and sizes. And its lightweight makes it easy to handle. Call, click, or come in now for your Hitachi drill kit. It comes complete with 2 14-volt batteries, so you'll always have a spare ready, a quick charger for more power in only an hour, hinged flashlight for light where you need it, plus a versatile 7-piece driver bit set, all in a sturdy carry case and backed by a 5-year manufacturer's warranty. Get all this for just $89. Buy now and you'll also get a $15 Lowe's gift card free. Don't wait. Get your Hitachi drill and driver kit today with all this for only $89 and only from Lowe's. Lowe's, improving home improvement.
Look at that!
Presenting an all-new line of comfortable, affordable fashions for the entire family from Duckhead. Landing soon.
Exclusively at Goodies.
The new e-voting systems were supposed to prevent a repeat of the chaos of the 2000 election, but the new machines got off to a rocky start in some states. Here's Nightline correspondent Dave Marish.
These are America's decision makers, the people who determine the future of the United States.
Voting has been such an integral part of American life that many of us took it for granted. And then came Florida and the presidential election of 2000. Remember hanging chads, recounts, the Supreme Court effectively declaring George W. Bush the winner?
The Help America Vote Act of 2001.
The Congress elected that year quickly determined that America's voting infrastructure had to be seriously upgraded before the presidential elections of 2004. The Help America Vote Act offered $650 million to the states for new voting technology. It also set up a commission to oversee and a scientific panel to advise reform. Unfortunately, the commission hardly functions, and the scientific advisory panel doesn't exist, and some of the states have spent their new voting money in questionable ways.
Have a problem.
There have also been problems with the new electronic machines for polling place voting.
In Montgomery County, Pennsylvania right now, where if you voted no on the open space question, it in fact lit up all the Republican candidates. I would not consider the deletion of thousands of votes down in South Florida in Janet Reno's primary successful.
When the state of Georgia, back in 2002, became the first in the nation to go all digital with its voting machines, it managed to avoid all of those malfunctions. But the vote itself raised a lot of questions. Many were surprised when Republicans Saxby Chambliss and Sonny Perdue defeated incumbent Democrats Senator Max Cleland and Governor Roy Barnes because pre-election polls had showed both Democrats ahead.
There is no evidence that the election was manipulated through touchscreen voting machines.
I wish I could say that I thought that were the case, but a kind of a technological terrorism of hijacking the voting systems, I think, is really unlikely.
Computer analyst Roxanne Jacote says she agreed until she discovered
the full source code for the ballot station program was on the internet. The source code, every program statement for the touchscreen voting machine was out there.
I was looking at error rates of 25% plus, and then when we did everything we could to get them right for the acceptance testing, they were still erroring out, I would say probably 8 to 9%.
Set aside that thought of outsiders sabotaging the Georgia voting system, says Rob Beeler, who spent most of the summer of 2002 running a warehouse where thousands of new electronic voting machines were assembled and prepared for duty. Worry, he says, about the problems inside the system and its voting machinery.
When I left the project, it was a mess. The machines were so bad, I had absolutely zero confidence that they would be able to pull off an election.
The improvement in accuracy is what sells me on the voting equipment by far over anything we had ever used before.
Touch the future.
Georgia Secretary of State Kathy Cox selected and administered the new 2002 state voting machine system. She says whatever could have gone wrong did not.
Well, our experience in Georgia has been fabulous.
Easy to say, but I asked, how could you prove it? How would you have done a recount?
Well, it's a different terminology from a recount because you can rerun all of the cards that hold the ballots from each machinery so that you do a recount in a sense, but it's not what you expect in a old-fashioned way of voting.
Simply put, the voting machines in use in Georgia, Florida, Virginia, and other states can only restate their results. They offer no way to recount or independently verify the accuracy of their vote counts. And
the voter has no way of verifying on a permanent medium that can be used to do the recount that their vote actually was recorded the way they intended. We print out lottery tickets by the millions every single day. We don't have any problem. And in fact, they have barcodes at the bottom of them that certify that it's an actual lottery ticket so that way you can't reproduce them.
We need a paper backup. I think anyone that has experience with computers generally knows at some point they crash.
California's Secretary of State Kevin Shelley has demanded that his state's new voting machines offer a paper ballot as a supplement to the voting screen. Manufacturers say it will take until 2006 to fill that order, which means that most of the votes cast electronically in this fall's national, state, and local elections will not be verifiable. I'm Dave Marish for Nightline in Washington.
And I'll be back in a moment.
Introducing the only minivan with 2 rows of fold-in floor seats, the all-new 2005 Grand Caravan.
Come on in, Dad.
I'll finish that in the morning. The lowest priced minivan in America, starting at $18,900.
To recap the headlines from today's election, Senator John Kerry has effectively locked up the Democratic nomination. Senator John Edwards is expected to drop out of the race tomorrow. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
Stephen King's Oscar-nominated films have thrilled you in 3 days.